Hey, what's up? My name is Alea. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another video. So this week we're going to be doing another vlog. And I think this is just going to be like a weekly vlog. I have some stuff going on this week and I wanted to bring you along with me. So basically, we're going to Missouri on a trip because we have a Halloween party to go to there. And I think I talked to you in some other videos recently about the like little costume pieces that I was crocheting for my Halloween costume because my husband and I are going to be Frog and Toad and I'm going to be Toad. And so I made like a little Toad bucket hat with little frog eyes on it. And then I also made a like sweater vest to kind of go with it. It's a pretty casual costume situation, but I just wanted to wear something fun to the Halloween party. I don't even know if costumes are required. We might be the only people dressed up. Not the point. Anyway, so we're going to Missouri to do that and we're going to be road tripping down there. And I think I'm going to be going to some bookstores, maybe some yarn stores, probably doing a lot of reading in the car because we're going over of course, a few days we're going to Missouri and then we're going to go to Arkansas after the party too. And we're going to go to like the Ozark National Forest and stuff around there. So I'm really excited. I don't know what we're going to see. I've never been to Missouri. I've never been to Arkansas. We'll just see how it goes. Also the Halloween party we're going to is like a work thing for my husband's work. And he works for this guy who's actually like a really famous YouTuber, Meat Canyon, and he does animation and like spooky weird shit. And we're going to his animation studio in Missouri. So that's cool. And I think he's also got like a whole set there where he films different things for videos and he has a podcast and all this stuff, but it's pretty cool. And I think he's also got a buddy who makes like monster creatures out of like, I don't know, silicone and foam and all kinds of stuff. Anyways, they make weird, creepy shit. So we're going to go see his stuff and go on some adventures. And I'm going to take you with me. And also, I am trying to figure out what I'm going to read, what books I want to take with me. So I have a couple books I want to read sometime soon that came out in October. So they're new 2025 releases by authors that I've read from before. So there's one by Lily Strong and it's called May the Stars Have Mercy. So this just came out recently. I haven't heard anybody talk about it, but I saw this cover and I get like her email newsletter and she was talking about it and it sounds so good. It's like a space horror sci-fi monstery romance, I think. And the guy looks like Bane. So I just really want to read about this sci-fi girly pop having a romance on a spaceship with Bane. And like creepy weird shit I think is going on the spaceship or something. Anyway, it looks really fun and I want to read that. I really like Lizzie Strong's writing. I always have fun with her books and I was just curious about that because it looks really fun. And then I have another one that's a sequel to one I read last fall and I'll put the cover up here, but the sequel just came out. It's called How to Survive a Fairy Bargain by Laura J. Mayo. And I'm not sure if this is going to be a continuing series or if it's just a duology or what, but the cover is beautiful. And the first book left off on a cliffhanger. And I still kind of remember what happened. The main character, Girly Pop, kind of got what she wanted, but she was having a love triangle with these two dudes. One of them is like a hot fairy prince who's kind of sketchy, and the other one is like a fox shifter guy. Anyways, it was very fraught, and she didn't end up with anybody at the end of book 2. And I just need to see what happens with this girl. Like, the love triangle has been plaguing me for a year on this. Like, I just need to know what the tea is, frankly. So, anyways, I want to get into this. And I remember I really liked the first book. Also, it's published by Orbit. It's got like a really fun fae vibe. It's set in this kind of like fairy world and um there's just like all kinds of fairy mischief going on. There's some like evil fairies who try to trick you. There's also like the human fairy dynamic. I think our girl was a human that kind of got brought into the fairy world and she works for this fae lady and there's familiars involved. And anyways, I think the first book was like a Cinderella retelling. So our main girl was like the kind of like one of the stepsisters to the Cinderella girl. And it's kind of like from the Cinderella from the POV of the stepsister, except Cinderella is actually not the like good girl that everybody thinks she is. She's actually like been manipulating everybody and she's like a shitty person. And the stepsister just got like painted in a bad light by her, and so everybody like hates her. Anyways, it's a whole thing, but it's really fun. And I haven't heard anybody else talk about this series, but I really liked book one. Need to read book two. Am I going to do it in the car on the way to Missouri? Maybe. I don't know. Loose TBR here, loose. Other things I might potentially read and take with me. I kind of want to have a physical book for the car as well, just in case I like, whatever, in case my ebooks get whack and I can't read my downloads or something. But I have some other things I've gotten recently that I might want to read. And one of them is this lovely book right here. It's called Dreadful. And I don't know if you can see, I guess the sprayed edges are really just cool on the side, but there's like little skulls and it's pretty cute. And this is about a dark wizard guy where something's going on in his palace and he wakes up and he basically like wakes up. He's got no eyebrows. He's got no memory of who he is. And everybody basically is like, "You're the evil wizard." And he's like, "I don't remember being evil. I don't remember being a wizard." He doesn't know what he's done, but he kind of has the chance to like figure out who he was and like remake himself into something else. And I don't know, it sounds magical. It sounds like it has some like potential spooky vibes, not really Halloween vibes, but I really like the dark wizard vibe. I think that could be really fun. And then I also recently hauled this, and I don't think I showed you. Same with the next two. This one is called The Ghost Keeper. It's a graphic novel. Again, I'm so sorry about this lighting. It's not better over there. Oh, there we go. Basically, I think this is a like middle grade or young adult graphic novel. Oh my God, the back has a cat and a crow on it down here. I don't know if you can see that. You probably, maybe you can. I'll zoom in and editing. Anyway, but this looks really fun. And I really like graphic novels that have to do with ghosts in particular, and like spooky graphic novels that are for like middle grade is one of my favorite things to read in the fall. Honestly, it's always just like a quick read. I like the pictures, and I think it would be fun to read in the car because there's so many like cute little pictures and stuff. And sometimes that's really nice when you're on a long car ride to just like not have to read full pages of text. You know what I mean? And the color palette is very like mostly blue and ghosty, but I think there are some other things. It looks like there's a teenage guy and a young ghost girl, and it seems like this guy maybe can see ghosts. He like talks to the ghosts and interacts with them. I don't know much about the plot. I really want to go in blind, but I wanted to show you that because I think it's really cute and it might be a good car book. Next, we have one that I also recently got, and it's Tourist Season by Bryn Weaver. And I think this is another I'm not sure if it's a spin-off from the Ruinous Love trilogy or if it's just the first in a completely separate trilogy from her, but I think it still has like the killers who are in love vibe. And I love this author's writing, so fun. I've read her books before on trips, like on airplanes, and it's just been like a really good escape vacation book when you're traveling. And so I'm curious about this. I need to go and look into it more and see if I need to like have read the whole Ruinous Love trilogy before I read this, because I haven't finished that trilogy yet. But I saw this and I had to buy it at the store because I love this author and I want to read that. Also, another one that's new that I don't think I've showed you because I just got it, and it's The Starving Saints by Caitlin Starling. So I might read this one. It's kind of on the shorter side. It's kind of a medieval horror, and I was looking at the first chapter in the bookstore and it looked really, really good. I think it's about this, I don't know if it's a castle, something like that. There's some kind of like medieval castle place, and things get really dark and weird, and I think the castle's under siege and the people inside the castle are running out of food and supplies, and they're starting to like starve to death and get really crazy. And then these mysterious saints show up, and then all of a sudden people have food and there's a lot of like debauchery going on. And I think the saints are maybe like, I don't know if they're evil or what, but there's some creepy shit going on in this castle. And then I think there's like, I don't know, in my mind, it's like creepy, weird shit and orgies, and there's something with a beehive, and I don't know, but it sounds fun and creepy and weird and like good for fall. So I could do that. And then the last one that is like kind of a maybe is the sequel to Dungeon Crawler Carl. I have the second book, and I read the first book on the road trip when we were moving to the Midwest. And so I know that this would probably be another really good car ride book. And so I'm kind of tempted to read this also, but it's definitely not like fall autumnal vibes, but it is like super high action. And also it probably has like some fantasy monsters and stuff in it too, which I'm really into. And this is a really long series. I really don't know how many books there are. I read the first book and I loved it. And then I immediately bought book two. And that's kind of where my research into the series stopped. But I am excited to read this. So that's kind of all the things I might possibly read. And I haven't picked a crochet project yet. I also want to have one of those for the car. I don't know what I'm going to make in the car. I might make more granny squares just because it's kind of easy, or I might find something else. So that's kind of what we're doing in this vlog. Things we might read, we might crochet something. I don't quite know, but I'm going to take you with me. And so I will update you probably right before we leave, or maybe once we're on the way initially in the car. And I'll let you know what I've decided to crochet, what I've decided to read, and we'll go from there. Hello, so it's a new day. No, we're not in Missouri yet. I have decided that in order to get some inspiration going for what we're going to do for our crochet projects on the road trip, I really want to go to Michael's. I have kind of an idea of something that I might want to make, and I actually did a little bit of a mock-up for you because I feel like I needed a picture to like fully explain my idea. So I've been having this idea, and I did this little drawing, and basically what this is a picture of a scarf I want to make out of pie 3D granny squares, if that makes sense. So basically I want to make a bunch of little pies, and I want to have like cherry pies, berry pies, blueberry pies, and then the backgrounds be like a pale butter yellow, a weird little nasty baby vomit green, and then maybe like a magenta. And then I want the background connecting color that's going to connect all those different pies to be like hot pink. And then I kind of want to put some like tan faux fur yarn around the edge and do like some fuzzy fringe on the bottom. So obviously it's not going to be 3 squares, but that's kind of a representation of the pattern that would repeat throughout the scarf. I hope that's making sense. Anyway, I saw this gal on YouTube. I think her name is Alea. I'm not totally sure. I watched like one of her videos, but I'll leave it linked down below. She did some tapestries that were really cool, and she did one that was out of these pie granny squares, and it was 3 like that, but she just did 3 and made it into like a vertical little wall tapestry. And I saw that and I was like, you know, I think I have the pattern for that 3D pie granny square. And sure enough, there's crochet books that you can actually get on Kindle Unlimited, which I just recently discovered, and it's amazing. And there's a book in there. I'll put the name up on the screen, or like the cover of the book, but it's a 3D granny square book, and there's one in there for a pie, and I already had it like checked out on Kindle Unlimited, and I'd seen that before, that little diagram of like the pie square, but I hadn't seen anyone actually like make it before. So I saw that and I was like, okay, I want to make a big fuzzy scarf for winter because it's pretty cold in the Midwest. And so I want to make like my own fun scarf with like different colors, and I want it to be like really bright and like, yeah, aggressive on the eyes is what we're going for. And I'm really excited. I want it to be very textured and colorful and soft and fuzzy. And so I have a few yarn colors already I think would work for this. So I have this bright magenta color that I think would be good for like the berry pies. And then I also have a red for the cherry pie, but I need to get hot pink. I need a blue for the blueberry pie. I need some kind of like fuzzy faux fur yarn for the border. Anyway, sorry if my mic just died and the audio just totally changed. It said I still had half battery and then it just died. Perfect, love to see it. Anyway, so we're gonna go to Michael's today and we're gonna get some yarn, and I'm gonna look around and see what other fun yarns inspire me for this project. But I think we're probably gonna end up making this project while we're on this trip. I'm thinking I might start some of the pie granny squares before we leave, and I might also start another project as well. So I think I talked about this in another recent vlog. I had this idea to do kind of like a mesh sweater, and I found a YouTube tutorial for it, and I have the yarn for it already, but I haven't gotten the chance to start it yet. So this is kind of the colors. So some of it's mohair, we got some merino wool, we got this nasty little green I love so much, white mohair, white sparkle, and then some there's black over here, a little black for like the trim on the neckline and the sleeves. And so I think I'm going to start that sweater before we go and the pie scarf before we go and take them both with me because we're going to be in the car for a while. It's like a multi-day road trip situation. So we've got plenty of time to read and plenty of time to crochet. So with that being said, let's go to Michael's. So after we went to Michael's, we headed out to Missouri and we went to the Halloween party at Meat Canyon's place, which was really fun. We got to meet a whole bunch of really cool animators and artists there. And it was really just fun and inspiring. And we got to see a whole bunch of his like creepy silicone puppets, like Margaret and Terrence that he uses in these different videos that he makes. And he had all these really cool sets and props and stuff for YouTube videos.
Oh my god.
And then we went to this independent bookstore in Kansas City, and we were running around Kansas City just doing some fun stuff. And we went to Prosperos, and it was a really cool independent bookstore, kind of an older one. And they had a whole basement full of books, and there was writing on some of the shelves. And so I got some video of some of that, which was really rad. And then we went to this really cool yarn store called Yarn Social, and I wanted to go there and get some yarn for some future crochet projects, as well as some projects I'm going to work on later in this vlog. And they had some really cool hand-dyed yarn there. And the lady at the checkout counter was so nice. She asked me what I was doing with the yarn that I was going to buy. And I told her that I was going to make a beanie and a scarf out of 3D pie granny squares. And she said that that was the most interesting answer she's gotten to that question in a long time. And she asks like all the customers that when they're buying yarn. And I thought that was really cool. And so I got some really fun yarn for some of the projects I'm going to do later in this vlog. And they had some really beautiful pom-poms there as well. And so I got one of those too. And then we kept going after Kansas City and we kept going south into Arkansas. And can I also just say, we've been kind of scouting some different states to see where we might want to buy a house. And the farmland of Missouri is so incredibly gorgeous. And northern Arkansas by the Ozarks is also so pretty. Once we got into Arkansas and got closer to Eureka Springs, where we were staying, we got into these roads that were really windy in the woods. And I've never seen roads that had a sign that say, like, beware of the crooked roads, because the roads were so, like, windy and there were switchbacks and the road was slanted to the side. And there was no, like, railing on the other side. It was just, like, cliff face down into the forest. That was crazy. But we stayed at this really gorgeous bed and breakfast cottage place there. And both Missouri and Arkansas have really cool, almost like witchy vibes. Like there were so many crows in Missouri, like everywhere. And then Arkansas especially feels very witchy and a little bit spooky, but not in like an ominous way. And I didn't realize that the town of Eureka Springs that we went to is known for having haunted hotels and things like that. So the whole town is like spooky themed year round. Like all the shops in the main street are all selling stuff related to like spooky things. So when we were there during spooky season of all times, it was extra spooky and fun. And the cottage we were staying at was also super cute, and they made us biscuits and gravy in the morning for breakfast, and it was so good. It was so fun just running around Eureka Springs and exploring. And the bed and breakfast we stayed at had a garden, and we also went to some really cool shops that had all kinds of different art and stuff, and we kind of just waddled around to just like see what we could see. And it is pretty touristy there, so there was a lot of just like paths and little springs in the woods that you could find and all that kind of stuff. And I also went to a really cool bead store while I was there. I think I forgot to tell you that later in the vlog, but I got some really fun beads that I'm going to use to make some crochet projects and stuff. And then we were doing some more driving on our way back home after Eureka Springs, and we drove back through Missouri. And in Columbus, Missouri, we went through part of the woods just like to stretch our legs and go on a little adventure. And we were walking through these paths in the woods of Missouri. It was around Columbia, Missouri, and we found this really cool bridge down by the river. And so we were exploring that. And then as we started getting closer to home, we kind of got caught in this rainstorm, but we still stopped at some bookstores on the way home. So I stopped at this indie bookstore in Iowa City, Iowa, and they had some really cool books there that I grabbed that I think I'm going to read in future videos. And then we also stopped at half-price books on the way home too that I'd never been to before. And they also had some really good used books. And I also got some used crochet books as well. I found one that has a bunch of patterns for making baby booties, which is going to be really fun. So we have a family member having a baby soon. So I think I'm going to make some baby booties soon as well. And then once we got home, of course, we had to say hi to all the outside cats. MacGyver and some of the little kittens were outside playing. Hello, my darlings. We are back from our trip to Missouri and Arkansas and all the places, and we went to the Halloween party, and now we're home. And so I wanted to show you what I've been working on in terms of crochet, and I also want to show you the books that I picked up at the bookstores we went to, and I also want to show you some of the yarn I got, and I'm going to show you another crochet project I started when we got home, and we'll just debrief on all things. So first of all, great trip. It was so fun. Unfortunately, I did not have a lot of time to like update you. So I think for this vlog, I'm just going to do like a voiceover, which I don't normally do, but I want to because there's a lot of fun things that we went and did. We had a really good time in Missouri at the Halloween party. And it was so cool. It was at Meat Canyon's house in Missouri. He's a like famous YouTuber. He does animation and all kinds of like fun, spooky, weird shit. And so we went to Halloween party at his place, and it was a blast. We got to meet a whole bunch of new people that my husband works with, and they also brought like their wives and girlfriends, and we had like a really good time. It was awesome. And then we messed around in Kansas City, Missouri a little bit. We went to the yarn store, bookstore, and then we went to Arkansas. We went to Eureka Springs, Arkansas, and it was really cool. It's such a fun, witchy town, and I didn't realize the whole town is like spooky themed, and they have haunted hotels there, and it's in the like Ozark Forest in Arkansas, northern Arkansas, and it was beautiful. Very spooky vibe. Like I just felt like I didn't know the covens were convening. You know what I mean? I would have brought my herbs. I would have brought my long black dress. It was amazing. Very spooky, very fun. It was really hot when we were there, but we had a lot of fun just walking around the town, chilling. I feel like we have kind of a, I don't know, unique take on travel. Like we just kind of are like, this place sounds interesting. We should go see it. And then we just book a hotel and just show up. And then we just waddle around and like see what there is to see. We don't really like plan it out. We don't plan out like what we're going to do when we're there. We just kind of go with the flow and like go and explore and like see what the vibe is and see what we can find while we're there. And it's really fun. It's kind of an avant-garde way of traveling, but it's really an enjoyable time, and I highly recommend, just book yourself a little cottage bed and breakfast. That's what we did, and the cottage was amazing. Oh my god, it was so cute. And the owner of the cottage also had like a really pretty garden too. It was beautiful. It was very fun. So we messed around there, and then on the way home, it was pretty stormy, but we stopped at the Half Price Books in Marion, Iowa, and we also went to Iowa City, went to a bookstore there, and that was really fun. And then when we came home, and I was doing a lot of crochet in the car, I did not read anything in the car on the way there or back because I was busy wrestling with this. The first pie granny square. Do you see it's a pie? Sorry, there's like a lot of strings. I need to weave in my ends and it shows, but let me move them so you can like see it better. I was really struggling with this pattern because it's the first pattern I've really done that's only written, that there's no like video tutorial on YouTube or anything, and it's from a crochet granny square book. I'll put the book up here in case you're interested. It's on Amazon. It's on Kindle Unlimited if you are interested in that. But this is a lovely little square, and I finally figured the pattern out. This isn't 100% right, but I did better on the second one. And so this is a little cherry pie. I had to do the lattice. There's little stitch markers everywhere because I need to like sew on the lattice, and I just clipped it on so I could see where I wanted it. But the background, I did the new yellow that I got from Michael's, and then I mixed it with a yellow mohair that I got from the yarn store in Kansas City. And so it's like a double strand on the outside, but I think it turned out really cute. I just need to finish stitching on the lattice and then it will be done. And I think I stitched this one here because that's going to be the actual top. And so I'm going to stitch a whole bunch of these together to make a giant scarf. And on me, as you can see, it's very big. So the scarf is going to be enormous, and I'm so excited. It's already starting to get cold in the Midwest, so I think the scarf is going to be really necessary actually. So that's what I was working on in the car, and then when we got home, I made the beginning of a second pie. So this one's going to be a berry pie. This one turned out better because I actually counted my stitches and figured the pattern out. Shocker. It's crazy how your shit works when you count your stitches. You know what I'm saying? Instead of being like, yeah, that seems good. Anyways, so this is going well. The crust on this one turned out so much better and like more even and cuter and everything. And so this is going to go with a yarn that I thrifted because we also, oh, I forgot to tell you, we went to this amazing place in Kansas City that's a secondhand craft supply store, and I think it's called Scraps. I'll put it up here. But it was so fun to go because they had like a bunch of secondhand yarn and fabric and everything, and I got a whole bunch of stuff because I also want to get into sewing. I got a sewing machine recently, but I haven't figured it out yet, and I want to do some like fabric little appliques and stuff on like pants and shirts and things, especially on some jeans I have, and I'm really excited about that. So I got some scrap fabric. I also have an idea for making some curtains. Mind you, I've never used a sewing machine. I know how to hand sew, but not cute. So I want to try and learn how to sew this winter and upcycle some curtains I already have with some used fabric. Anyway, so stay tuned for more crafts, but yes, so I'm going to be using some of the yarn that I bought from Michael's in this vlog, as well as some yarn I thrifted and some new yarn that I bought at the fancy yarn store in Kansas City, all for this pie scarf. It's going to be amazing. Anyway, then when we got home, I also started another crochet project. I'm just in the mood to crochet. What can I say? I am going to be doing some reading later in this vlog though, so don't you fret, but can I show you this without messing up the entire project? Hold on, I gotta take my crochet hook out so I can show you this, but I don't want to lose my spot. Hold on, I'm wrestling with the crochet. Anyway, so I started this, which doesn't look like much so far, but this is gonna be a lovely little beanie for the winter. This is some beautiful yarn that I got when I was in Kansas City at the fancy yarn store. It's so gorgeous. It was this beautiful hank of yarn. I'll try and like put in a picture of like one of the ones that it was. It's gorgeous and it's like multicolored and everything, and the colors are turning out so beautiful in this. If you can see, it's gorgeous. So I'm crocheting it flat, and then it will, I think, seam up somehow to become a beanie. When I do it like that, it looks really strange. I don't think it's going to be like that. Oh, I know how it goes. It's top to bottom, so it's going to be tall like this, and then it goes around, and then over here as it gets like longer, then you attach it like over here. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, and then I'm going to put a little pink pom-pom on it that I got in Kansas City as well. So with that, that's what I've been working on. And I'm going to show you the books I got and the yarn I got. So we'll do a little haul. And then we're going to go read because I really want to do some reading. I'm in the mood to read. And so let's get into the book haul. So the first thing I got is a book from Half Price Books. They had some good historical romances. You know, I love those. This is an old school historical. It's called The Dragon and the Jewel. And I feel like this was on my Goodreads TBR. Like I saw somebody say it was good, probably like Jess from Peace Love Books or somebody, one of the historical romance girlies on booktube. Anyway, but isn't this gorgeous? It's got gold foiling. It's by Virginia Henley. Anyways, gorgeous cover, gorgeous back. Obsessed with this man, stunning. Anyway, hello, gorgeous. I love the gold foiling. But I started reading this at the store, and it just looks really cute. There's no step back for me to show you, but historical romance. The girl is like a very spirited princess, and this guy is like a badass warrior, and they call him the Dragon. And I think they have I don't know if it's like an arranged marriage or what exactly, but I think the guy on the front, Mr. Dragon, is like a knight. Anyways, it sounds spicy and fun. Love it. Love to see it. The other romance I got that seems spicy and fun, I want to start reading this in this vlog because I'm so excited. It's called Soul Searching by Lila Sage, and she wrote the cowboy romance Blue Rebel Ranch romance series, and I read the first two in that. I need to read the last two, and I love that series. It's so fun. I love the cowboys. And so this one is a like spookier romance. It's set in a small town. One of the characters is a photographer, and I think it's set at some kind of like haunted house. This is something about ghosts. I'm very excited. I really want to go in blind, and this is the start to a new series from her, I think. And I saw this. I didn't even know it was coming out because I have been busy crocheting and moving and whatever, and I haven't been following the 2025 releases for the second half of the year. And so I was so excited to see this at the bookstore in Iowa City because I thought it looks so fun, and I'm so excited. I didn't realize she was also going to be doing a spooky romance, or that she even had like another series coming out after the Blue Rebel Ranch series. So I'm excited about this. I'm going to be starting this today in this vlog. I'm so excited. And then I also got a short story collection that's got some spooky ghost stories in it, and it's called The Ghost Variations. And I'm not sure if it's by multiple authors. Let me just look. It looked really good at the bookstore, but basically it's a whole collection of just like spooky little ghost stories. And I think they're all by one guy, by Kevin Brockmeyer, who I've never heard of before, but I guess this is a 2021 release, and I just had never heard of it before, but it looked so fun. Iowa City had a really good bookstore, and look at this. There's like little ghosts on the spine. It's so cute. It just seemed perfect for fall, perfect for Halloween. So I also would like to read this soon. Probably not in this vlog unless I get wild hair and just read like the first story. But I might read this, I don't know, in a future vlog. Let me know if you're interested in this. I'd never heard of this book either, and I was excited to see it. And then next I got one that I did know was coming out this year, and it's called Slashed Beauties. And I know I talked about this in like a previous 2025 releases video, and I'm really excited about this. It's basically about these women who I think hunt down men and kill them. And that's kind of all I really want to know. And I thought this lady on the cover was a real person, but it's like a doll in a cage. Isn't that cool? Gorgeous cover, and it's really chunky too. I'm excited about this. I think it's going to be kind of in a similar vein to some other books that I have read for book club on this channel, as well as just like other horror that I like about like female serial killer energy. That's what it's giving. I'm excited about it. And then I also have one more book that I bought that is called Notes on Surviving the Fire. Again, never heard of this book in my life, but it looks really, really gorgeous. Let's take a moment for this stunning cover. This is about a woman who is in college, I believe, and she gets sexually assaulted, and she is dealing with trying to like find herself after dealing with that trauma. And then this guy that she's friends with, I think he ends up getting murdered. And so she's trying to solve this murder mystery. She thinks there's something going on campus. There's a lot of people getting murdered and stuff. And so she's trying to figure out who killed her friend and get revenge on them. And so I think it's the story of this woman who's had to deal with all of this trauma, and she's basically coming back to herself. And also I think she's going to get some revenge on some nasty men, and I'm so excited about it. Obviously, you can tell I really like stories about feminine rage and dealing with difficult topics. I think this one's going to be a hard one to read, but I'm really excited about it, and I haven't heard people talking about this. Is this a 2025 release? Maybe I'm just sleeping on the 2025 releases. Let's find out. Let's see. Hello? Yep, it's a 2025. So if you haven't heard about this, now you have. But I think it's going to be really good. I think I should read this soon. So who knows? Maybe I'll do a video. I don't know. Do you want me to do a vlog where I read some like 2025 releases? Let me know. I also got some crochet books as well at the used bookstore. And hold on, I gotta put some of these books down. There's books everywhere. Shocker. Shocker. Anyways, so I got some old school crochet books from Half Price Books. I have not looked at their like craft book section before, but I saw this, and it's a little, really tiny little pamphlet for old school baby booty patterns. And I know a gal who's expecting, and I wanted to make her some baby booties, but I didn't know how to make them, and they're so small. And I've never made like slippers before. I made like a hat, obviously, and I made like my Halloween costume wearable stuff, but I've never done anything for kids or any kind of slipper or booty or anything. And so there's all kinds of different like designs, and some of the ones in the front I thought were really cute. And so I like these little blue ones, and I like these little yellow ones, and these ones have like a little trim. I want something like that, I think. So I think I'm gonna try and use this written pattern guide and make some baby booties for her soon. And I also got one for granny squares. Where's the front of this book? Hello? Not my yarn rolling across the floor. This is an old school granny square book, and I was curious about this because it has some Christmas patterns. It also has this really pretty one right here that I think is a pansy, and I thought that was pretty. And I really like making granny squares. Also, this granny square right here is made with a stitch that my great grandma used to make an Afghan blanket that I use like every single day. And I don't know how to do that stitch. And I was like, if my great grandma did it, I could probably do it. And so I want to learn that stitch too, because I thought it was cool. And then also, I got another crochet book. Can I pick it up without lighting myself on fire? Let's see. This one is about making Afghan blankets. Good segue from what I just said. And it's old school. And let me tell you something. The grannies of yesterday, they made serious Afghan blankets. And I would like to learn how to do that. And so that's why I got this. And there's all kinds of different ones in here. And a lot of them are like patterns I've never seen on like the YouTube tutorials that I've looked at and things of that nature. But there's some really cool stuff. And I'm just curious. Like this one is pretty cool. It's got blueberries on it. Look at the blueberries. Aren't they cool? It kind of shows it right here, this like blueberry square. Anyways, so I thought that was fun. So I picked that up. So that's all the books that I got. That's quite a lot. I'm aware. I've got a lot of reading and crochet to do this winter, which I frankly couldn't be more excited, to be honest. And then I also got some yarn and some used craft supplies. So let's get into that. Okay, quick yarn haul for you. I got some little mohair from the Yarn Social store in Kansas City. So one of them is, oh no, they're both the same brand. This brand, Isager. I don't know how to pronounce that, but these are both going to be in my pie scarf that we've been working on this vlog. And I'm excited because I used this mohair in the cherry pie that I showed you. And then I'm going to use this one with the berry pie that I also showed you. And then this other yarn that I thrifted at the secondhand craft store in Kansas City, this little green. It did not come like this. I had to wash my yarn because you should always wash used yarn. Otherwise it can have bed bugs or fleas or other gross things. So this yarn with this square or this pie, and it's going to become a granny square. And then also this little mohair. Do you see the vision? Look how gorgeous those are going to be together. I'm so excited about that. I need to finish winding this yarn ball today and then start working on the background for this pie granny square. So you'll probably see me working on that today. I also showed you this other beanie project. We're going to be working on this today. Bought this yarn in Kansas City at the Yarn Social store. Beautiful, beautiful. And then let's see, what else do we have? Oh, I got this little felt bundle. This is for needle felting, not for crochet. It fell, too bad. Anyways, so I'm gonna repair a sweater I have with needle felting, and so I wanted to include that in there. And then I also got this pink pom-pom that's gonna go on my little beanie when it's done. Isn't that gonna be so fun? Basically, I've been hearing a lot of the craft girlies talking about, instead of getting like souvenirs from the places they travel to, they they get yarn or like craft supplies, and then the crafts that they make, especially like wearable stuff, is kind of like a souvenir from their travels because they got the yarn from different places. So I've been thinking about that while I'm making this scarf and this beanie for the winter, and I think that's a really fun idea. And then this is the stuff I got from the used store, the craft store, used craft store. So I got this fabric. I almost said yarn. That's not yarn. And it's really pretty. I'm going to use this for the curtains I want to sew this winter, I think, because it's kind of like a lightweight white. What else did I get? Oh, this is a bag of a whole bunch of stuff. There's a zipper in here. I've never used a zipper, but I want to crochet a pouch and put a zipper in the top. And I got some scrap fabric for doing appliques on some jeans and things. And there's some more scrap fabric on the back. They had a thing where you could pick whatever scrap fabric you wanted and put it in a bag, and then it's like $4. Isn't that amazing? I'm so excited about that. And then more yarn. So I got this fluffy yarn that I'm going to mix with the red acrylic, and I'm going to make a plant hanger for my office. And I got this, which I don't have a plan for this, but when I was checking out at the checkout counter, this little girl was behind me in line, and she was like, "Oh, that's such a pretty yarn. You should crochet a little monster out of it." And I have been seeing some patterns on Pinterest for little crochet monsters, and so I kind of might actually make a little monster out of this because I thought it was kind of cute that she said that. And then I got a hot pink acrylic, which I could also use for a monster. Maybe that would be kind of fun. And then finally I got this fuzzy like periwinkle kind of, it's more periwinkle in person, but it's showing up like really dark on camera. But anyways, it's like furry. It's not fake, kind of fake fur, I guess. Kind of like an eyelash yarn, but soft, if you can see that. Anyways, this one's going to be fun. So I normally try to only buy yarn if I have a project in mind, which most of these I do. I think the only ones I don't have a project for are these two, but they're kind of pretty together. So maybe we could mix that with like this maybe and make like a little monster. That could be really fun. Anyway, so that's what I got. I think that's all the things I have to share with you. But in terms of projects today, I already told you we're going to work on the beanie. We're going to work on this granny square. I also would like to start a blueberry pie granny square. And then I also want to do some reading. So we're going to read this new one from Lila Sage. I'm really in the mood to read this. I'm also really in the mood to read this spooky graphic novel I told you about before. This one. Sorry, I'm trying to keep track of everything. I have stuff everywhere. And this one's called The Ghost Keeper. And I recently bought this as well. It's a spooky, like middle grade ghost graphic novel. And then I also am really in the mood to read monster romance. And so I kind of want to pick up that one from Lizzie Strong, also the Alien one. And so that's kind of the projects I want to work on, the books I want to read for the end of this vlog. I'm sorry this vlog is so long, but I hope that you're having fun, and make sure that you're, get a little snack, get a little water while you're watching this ridiculously long vlog. But I'm having fun reading and traveling and crocheting. And so I hope you're having fun along with me. So all that being said, let's get to reading and crafting. hands. You got your crazy face on, don't you? You got the zoomies. You got the zoomies. Hello, my sweet petunias. I'm back to give you a little reading update. I've been doing a lot of reading. Also, we got some tea, got a little ginger tea because we're having the little tummy troubles today. Love to see it. Not. I'm doing well. Thank you for asking. Anyways, so we've been doing some reading and I wanted to give you some updates. So I am a good chunk of the way into Soul Searching by Lila Sage, and I was really, really excited to get to this and talk to you about it because I really like Lila Sage. I read the first two books in her Rebel Blue Ranch series. I think that was last year that I did that, and I loved those two. And this is the start of a new series from this author, and this one's a little bit different than her previous like cowboy western romances. It's still set in Wyoming, but it's a little bit more paranormal. It has ghosts in it, which her other ones didn't have anything like that. So a little different, but still the like small town in Wyoming vibes. It's set in a town that's near the town from the first series. So I think there does seem to be some crossover. Like it's in the same world, and I think there's some folks who are relatives of some of the books in the other series that live in this other town and show up in this series. So kind of similar. But anyway, so we're following this girl. Her name's Collins, and she's a twin, and she is our main girly pop. And I did not like her at the beginning of this book. I will say the first like 40 pages of this, I was not really sure. I was not buying it because Collins, our main girl, was obnoxious at the beginning. She has basically hit rock bottom. Her career is in the gutter. She's been fired from like her dream job. She also has this gift where she can see ghosts, and her twin can as well. But she normally is able to like talk to ghosts, and for whatever reason, her powers have been on the fritz, and she can see ghosts, but she can't hear them. She can't talk to them anymore. And she's a photographer, and since she has kind of lost her whatever ghost speaking abilities, she has been really struggling with her photography because the ghosts are kind of like part of her inspiration for the way that she does photos. And so she just feels like she's really lost herself. And her parents own this really cool antique shop in this little Wyoming town. And so she's kind of coming back home to help with the family business. There's this developer that's kind of sniffing around trying to buy up her family's property, and they are kind of not sure if they should sell out or not because they need the money. And she and her twin are kind of like, no, don't sell the place. Anyways, so that's kind of what's going on with her. So she comes back to this town. She doesn't want to be there. And she also doesn't really want to be around her family. And that's the part that kind of got me as being annoying, because she's got a really great family. Her parents are really nice and supportive. Her twin is really nice. They obviously are like very kind people, but she acts like she'd rather do anything else other than talk to her parents. And she has been lying to them. Like, they don't know that she lost her job, and they don't know about like her losing her powers and all this stuff. And so she kind of just lies to them, and it seems like she feels like the black sheep in her family. And she's got this twin who's kind of like, it's almost like a good twin, bad twin kind of reputation in this town. And it seems like she just wants her parents to like think the best of her, even though they totally like love her and they don't care if she like doesn't call them back or whatever. Like, they're cool with her being who she is. But she just feels like she can't be honest with them and like doesn't want to be around them. Like, they're very kind of eccentric sort of people, and they're really into antiques and stuff. But I don't know, it's like she just doesn't feel like she loves them, but she doesn't want to be around them. And I had a hard time with that because they're so nice. I could see it if her family was like really toxic or whatever, but they're totally not. And it did seem like she was kind of like putting them off even once she got to the town. Like, she wasn't really helping out a lot. So that was a little strange, but I feel like she's kind of like making amends with her family here towards the end, which I think is good. And then she also meets this guy named Brady, who is new to the town. He's an upholsterer, he has his own business, and he is renting the building that he's like living in and where his business is from her parents. And so they kind of know, he knows her family, and she hasn't been to town since he moved there. And he's kind of like also having a soul searching kind of time. He basically like detonated his life and moved to this small town in Wyoming and started an upholstery business because he broke off an engagement with this gal, and she was like the daughter of the CEO at the company that he worked at. And he was just really, really unhappy with his life and his relationship. And he was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I need to do something totally different. And I like him a lot. He's really funny. He's very down to earth. He doesn't believe in ghosts at the beginning of this, but he does believe in Collins when she says she can see them. And they're living together because her twin was like, okay, if you don't want to stay with me, you don't want to stay with mom and dad, there's this guy who has like an extra room at his place, and that's Brady. So she's living with him, and her sister also got her a job as his assistant to like answer the phones and stuff at his upholstery business. And so they're together like 24/7, and they quickly start like falling for each other. And at first she thinks he's like boring, and he thinks she's really intriguing. She's got tattoos and she's mysterious. He's heard about her from her family, but he knows that she's kind of like elusive, and he's just trying to like kind of figure her out. And she's kind of going through a lot of shit. She's just feeling really lost, and he's also feeling kind of lost trying to find his footing in this new town. So they kind of come together and decide to go and like explore the town together, and she's showing him like all her favorite spots that she used to go to when she was a teenager. And she's taking him to some like haunted places, and it's kind of like reinvigorating her too and making her inspired to like do photography again. And she's starting to like find her roots again, and her powers are starting to come back. Like she's starting to hear ghosts every once in a while, and so he's helping her get her powers back, and she's helping him like explore the town. But I really like their romance. Like once we got through the beginning that was a little bit rocky, she like pepper sprays him right at the beginning, and that was a weird opening, and she was being kind of annoying and kind of like rude to her sister. And then once we get into like the meat of their romance, it's very cute. And I was like squealing like a pig, kicking my feet. Very cute. Brady is so sweet. And I wouldn't say it's grumpy sunshine, but they're both just going through it. But they have really good banter. And I love that. They have really good sexual tension because they're sharing like some communal space in the apartment. And I just love them. They're so cute. Brady's so fun. They also have a lot of good scenes where things are like tense and you know that they're into each other, and they kind of admit that, but it's still very much a slow burn. Like how far in am I? 200 and something. I'm 242 pages in, and they have not done the deed yet. There has been like some kissing and stuff for sure, and they're definitely like kind of an item now, but it's very much a slow burn, and I like that. I feel like they're both kind of coming back to themselves and also falling in love at the same time, and it's just very tender, and I loved it. So I'm into this. I would say right now it's probably sitting at like a 4 for me. I feel like my favorite Lila Sage book so far has been the second one in her Rebel Blue Ranch series. But I do think this is good. It's just different. I feel like this author is kind of finding her footing with doing something that's not just like a contemporary kind of romance. Like having that paranormal element is kind of new. But I do like this. I like that it's different. I think the vibes are really fun. The characters, I mean, are really good, and I feel like I believe in this romance, but there are some things that kind of make me, I don't know, it's a little more than I can suspend my disbelief, if that makes sense. So I don't want to spoil, but there is something that kind of comes up with Brady's ex-fiance and like her dad and like the company he used to work for. And I was like, that is so unrealistic. Like the company is based on the other side of the country in Washington. Like there's no way that that company would be having something that would affect him and Collins when they're in Wyoming. Like I highly doubt that that would ever happen. And then just Collins being like obnoxious at the beginning. But other than those two things, I feel like I really like it. So right now it's a 4. I have not read the end yet, but I like it. I think if you like this author and you're curious about this, I would pick it up and give it a go, especially if you like ghost stories. I do feel like the ghosty stuff in here is really fun, and I like that a lot. And then speaking of ghosts, I also started The Ghost Keeper, little graphic novel, and I'm really enjoying this so far. The art is beautiful, and the story is definitely there, because sometimes the graphic novels story is not really there, but the art's pretty. This has both, which I'm loving. And I want to show you some of the art because it's very colorful. There's a lot of ghosts in here. We're following this guy Dorian, and he's gay, which is fun. He's got a crush on his roommate, who's like I think he works in a bookstore. Very cute. And basically Dorian's thing is he can see and talk to ghosts, and he is a ghost therapist, which is really cool. And basically if somebody's house is haunted, they can call him and he will come to the house and like talk to the ghosts and try and convince them to move on to the afterlife. But there's also these exorcists in this world who use like poison, and they will basically like poison bomb the house like you would for an infestation or something, and it like burns the ghost to death and kills them like a second time, and it's awful. So he tries to save as many of the ghosts as he can so people don't call the exorcists. And he is having a problem because one of the ghosts that he runs into locked the door to death and stole the key, and she doesn't want to give it back. And so basically the door to death is locked, and so no souls can like pass on from limbo. They're like trapped there, and it's creating a lot of problems. And so people are passing away. They're coming back as ghosts because they are like discombobulated or they have unfinished business or whatever, and he kind of calms them down and gets them to pass on. Well, then they hit the door and they can't get through, and then they come back, and the ghosts are starting to get this like fungus rot on them that is like little mushrooms, and it's very sad, and he's trying to solve the problem, but the issue is that people don't really get it because he's like the only one who can see ghosts and talk to them too. And people don't always believe in him. He kind of has a bad reputation in the town for being this like creepy guy who attracts ghosts. And so he's just trying to help them as much as he can. And it's about grief, it's about the afterlife, it's about ghosts. But I think I'm curious to see what happens with him later on with the ghosts. I think he's gonna kind of realize that like he has this really cool power and he can use it to help, but if he like takes on too much of the burden of the ghosts, and like when he's talking to them about their life, sometimes it's kind of like he's a therapist, right? So he's talking to them in a really like calm professional manner, which is really cool. And just the concept of a ghost therapist is really fun. But he kind of like takes on their burdens a little bit so that they can move on. And it weighs really heavy on him. And so I think he has to kind of learn to, I don't know, either compartmentalize it or, you know, not feel like he has to carry the burden of like all of these ghosts. And there's a ton of them. And it's like, you know, it takes a lot out of him to try and serve everybody else all the time. So he also had a near-death experience when he was a kid, and he lost somebody close to him, and he kind of almost did the thing where like they die and come back to life. And so that's when he got this power where he has one eye that has like this light ring on it, and it allows him to see ghosts and speak to them. And not very many people seem to have this power. But there is one other guy in this new town he moves to that seems to have a similar power, but he's not using it for good. He's using it for evil. And that's also interesting. So far, it's really good. I like the art. I like the writing. I like the characters. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. But I don't know. I'm not really sure what I would rate this. I don't know. Maybe a 3.5 or a 4. I think that sounds right. I'm not super far in. I don't even think there's page numbers in here, to be honest. But I'm about that far in, if you can see my bookmark. I'm like right here. So we got a lot of book to go, but I've been kind of like skimming the rest of it because I kind of want to just like know what's going to happen. But I am going to go through and like deep read the rest of this, but I'm excited about it. I think if you like stories about ghosts, or if you like ghost and fungus, I think you would like this. Also stuff about the afterlife, and if you're really into like seeing pictures of a bunch of different really cool ghosts, then I think this would be for you if you're into graphic novels. But I think to me this feels, it doesn't feel super young, I wouldn't say. Like I think as an adult reading this, it feels like it could be for teenagers, adults. I don't know that it's coming across as like middle grade or young YA to me necessarily. Like I feel like the writing could be for anybody. You know, it's not, it doesn't feel childish at all. I wouldn't say. So I'm enjoying this so far as well. And then I have one other book that I started, and it's a monster romance, and I think it's called May the Stars Have Mercy by Lizzie Strong. And that's one of her newer ones I've been meaning to get to. And it's so good. So this one's a little different than her other stuff because it's a sci-fi monster romance, and it has some like sci-fi horror elements in it. It kind of reminds me of Dead Silence that I read recently in another video. The beginning opens with our girl, oh my god, what is her name? I forget. Anyways, she's like a technology whiz, and she's part of this crew of researchers on this spaceship, and basically they go to different planets and stuff, and they like take samples and whatever, and they're looking for like other planets that have life forms on them. And so they're going around doing their thing, and they run into this abandoned haunted ship, and she's like, we should not touch that with a 10-foot pole. And her stupid crew member guys that she hates, they're all dumb, they're like, no, we should totally go on the ship. And she's like, oh my god, whatever. So they go on, and they immediately get attacked by this creature guy who looks like Bane, no joke. He's got like these pinchers for a mouth. He's got this like helmet thing on and this like crazy armor that's like plugged into his brain, and uh, he's like 7 feet tall, monstrous, howls at them, is like trying to kill him. And there's others of his species on the ship too, and so they're being hunted through the ship. And she and one of her crew members quickly realized that like it was a trap, and they got like trapped there on purpose. And it's very strange. And they look through this hole in the bottom of the ship they're on, and they see that there's another ship underneath it. And these monsters that are coming after them clearly parked their ship underneath and like cut a hole through the hole, like the bottom hole of this ghost ship, and came up into it and are using it as like a hunting ground. Because the whatever broken looking ship attracts humans because it's putting off this like distress signal thing, right? So, anyways, very creepy. But her crew quickly gets by this monster guy, and it keeps looking at her weird. And she's like, what is up with this creature? It seems to be like smirking at her and things like that. And she's like running for her life, terrified. Something about space horror is like another level of terrifying. And there's some weird like electricity stuff going on the ship. There's also some like giant wasp bugs. It's a mess. Shit's creepy. They see like the remains of other dead humans. There's blood everywhere. It's nasty. It's creepy. Whatever. But long story short, her whole crew gets obliterated and she gets abducted by these creatures. And as it just so happens, the main creature that she saw when they first boarded the ship, that's absolutely terrifying, he is the prince of another species, and he found out that she is his mate, and he saw her like a year ago when they were exploring a different planet, and he like felt the mate bond. And so since then, he's been kind of like keeping an eye on her, and in their species, it's customary to do a mating hunt, which is basically like, it's kind of like in werewolf books and stuff, and some other ones I've read, where they do kind of like a thing. Normally it's like in the woods where it's like you go run and then the guy like chases them, and then when he catches them, it's like, the neck bite and then their mates or whatever. It's that, except she has no idea what's going on, and she thinks that they're being absolutely ambushed. But really, he thinks it's a mating hunt, and he set the whole thing up. And when she boarded the ship, he assumed that was her like accepting the mating hunt, and he thought that like her crew members were not like her associates. He thought they were like, I don't know, distractions that he could like hunt. I don't know. It's a whole thing, whatever. Basically, it's a total misunderstanding. He thought that he was setting up a lovely, romantic, elaborate mate hunt, and she thought she was fighting for her life. You ever just have that happen to you? So, anyways, they kind of talk through their differences, but he's really sweet to her once she like gets on the ship, and he never hurt her or anything in the mating hunt episode. But he did kill one of her crewmates, and all the other ones died in other various disturbing ways. So, not off to a great start. And so she kind of starts learning more about his species. He has the healers on his ship like heal her and stuff. So she's fine. Actually, she's living it up. And he's very kind to her. He basically says like, you can do whatever you want. I'll set up like a station for you. You can do like your little tech thing, and you can come with me and my people to these other planets as we're like exploring the galaxy. He's like, I have some like hunt stuff I have to do for my species because of my position as the prince, and I want you to like meet my dad, the king, on our home planet and stuff. But she's really getting to know him, and they're very cute together. He is definitely interesting. He speaks English, and he's like studied English so they can communicate, but they still kind of have that interspecies thing where sometimes she has to like explain the context to him of like why she would be upset about something or whatever. And once he found out that like she didn't know about the mating hunt and like thought they were just being like attacked, he felt really bad, and so he's trying to like make it up to her. And there's a lot of really cute scenes of him like taking care of her and like making sure she has a bath and like giving her food and all this stuff. And he's just very sweet to her. He gives her a lot of compliments, which is nice. I don't think she's really had anybody like be nice to her before, which is sad, but it seems like they have a very sweet relationship. However, it seems like something's going on with the like intergalactic politics, because it seems like the human company that she worked for found out that they got attacked by this other species and that she got abducted, and they are trying to like track her down, and so she's really worried that they're going to start a war with his species over this whole thing, and she doesn't know why they would care if she got abducted, because normally like people go missing all the time and it's not a big deal. But it seems like maybe it was almost a double setup somehow. Like maybe they were trying to like use maybe they found out that that was his mate, and they were trying to make his species look bad so that they could attack them or something. I don't know. But there's definitely some weird political shit going on that I think they're going to be like right in the middle of. But he's a badass, and he is like a trained warrior. And when she finds out he's a prince, she like freaks out, and she's like, dude, I'm just like Joe Schmo McGee, neighborhood girl kind of thing. And he's like, well, just because you're my mate, like, you don't have to have a special title. Like the mate bond is like a destiny thing, you know? And he's like, no matter what, like you are my mate. I'm on 100% sure. And he kind of fell for her when he saw her on the other research planet, because she was like sitting in a meadow reading a book out loud to her like pet drone, and he heard her voice and he was like, I just heard your voice and I thought that it was beautiful and I thought you were beautiful and I knew immediately that like you were my mate. And it's very sweet. He's a very sweet, very terrifying monster guy. Also, a little weird on the ethics that he's killed a lot of humans. So that's interesting. But he's very good about like being kind and patient to her. And he kind of understands that like the physical differences. Like once he figured out that he had a mate, like a fated mate that was a human, he's spent the last year kind of like studying up on humans and stuff, trying to like be prepared for when they did the mating hunt and then he was going to be around her afterwards. And it's like he did his research, but he still doesn't know everything. Like he doesn't know what a belly button is. He's like, is that's not one of your like sexual organs, is it? And she's like, my belly button? No. Like some things like that. He doesn't quite know what it is. So that's kind of funny, but he is really cool. And he's also like clearly the leader of this ship and this group of species that are on this ship. And so he's got some other guys who are like fighters that work for him. And I think there's like 3 or 4 others. So I'm kind of wondering if the other books in this series are going to be like the rest of those guys in the same species, like finding their own mates. I'm kind of thinking that's the direction it's going in. But it's going to be a series, and I'm really excited because this world is really cool. They also go to this planet where it's like a forest and there's a stream and stuff, but everything is rainbow. Like the trees are rainbow colored and the plants have like rainbow stripes on them and stuff. And so that's cool. They're exploring all these different places, and I'm curious to see what happens once she gets to the planet with his dad, the king, and how that whole thing is gonna go. But it sounds like everybody who's in his like inner circle knows that like she's his mate, and they're really respectful and nice to her, and they're like excited that she's there, and it's fun. And they're also really technologically advanced, so she's like in her element with all the gadgets and stuff that are on the ship, and she's kind of like, ooh, this is like way techier than what I'm used to. And she's really into it, and he really likes it when she goes like full nerd mode, because he thinks it's like really attractive that she's like super passionate about this thing. And so that's cute. He's very like supportive of her being really like intellectual and interested in the technology stuff. So anyways, I would definitely recommend this if you're into monster romance. I've also seen some of the monster romance girlies that I follow on Goodreads really like this. A lot of them gave it 5 stars. I think I would give it a 4.5. I also really loved the horror at the beginning of this, and I would love to see Lizzie Strong write a horror novel, especially like a just straight up space horror, because the beginning of this did feel like a horror novel until we got to the part after she woke up on his ship and he was being really sweet to her, and you kind of realize like, okay, clearly they're mates. And he calls her his mate, like at the end of the mating hunt thing, because he sees it as like she won the mating hunt because she figured out how to disable his electronic armor. And then she passed out because her oxygen, her suit, like ran out. And so they had to do some like surgery on her and give her like fake lungs so she didn't die. And it's pretty normal, like in his species, to have that done. But she wakes up and he's like fretting over her, right? Because it's his mate. And she's just kind of like, what are you talking about? But one thing that was interesting is you'd think she'd wake up and be like super pissed off because he just killed her whole crew, but she didn't really like them anyways. And he's being so nice to her that she's not like mad at him. Like it takes her a little while to kind of like have her meltdown, I think, because she's kind of like in shock that she just had this whole traumatic experience happen and then had like lung surgery. But once she kind of spills and is like, dude, like, why did you do that? You like killed all of us and it was like a total ambush. He's like, oh, you didn't know about the mating hunt? And she's like, no. So, anyways, there's definitely some miscommunication stuff in here. So, if you're not into that, you may not like it, but I definitely feel like it's done well. It's not like they have some crazy fight over it. It's like they just have a discussion and then they move on. So anyways, I'm really enjoying all the books that I've been reading in this video, and we also had a really great trip to Missouri. So I think this is a really successful vlog, and I'm really excited. I feel like my end of year reading is going so good, and a lot of my best books I've read this year have been within the last like couple of months, and the reading is going fabulously. Oh my gosh, I also have a crochet update for you. Let me get my crochet really fast because I forgot to grab it before I sat down. Okay, so big project updates. I finished my beanie hat that I was working on and it turned out so good and so cute. So this is the yarn and the pom-pom that I got while we were in Kansas City at the yarn store, and I'm really happy with how it looks. I think it looks like a beanie you would buy, which I'm really excited about. And I got the little pom-pom on there and I love the colors. I think it's really fun. I feel like the design looks like something you could buy at a store, but the colors make it look more like it was handmade, which I think is really fun. And it's beautiful. And I'll leave the pattern linked below if you're into crochet and you want to use the same beanie pattern. And then I just kind of fudged it a little bit at the top to be able to fit the pom-pom in there. I just left the hole a little bit bigger, but it's really, really soft and squishy and it's really cute on. I'm not going to put it on right now because I wore it a little while ago and I have a helix piercing up here that's healing in my cartilage, and if I wear a hat over it, sometimes it makes it a little bit like tender, and it's supposed to be healed in another like few weeks, but then I'll be able to wear my beanie a lot more. But anyways, I'm really excited about how this turned out. And then I've also been working on the pie granny squares that I was working on the road trip, and so I think I might have showed you this finished pie, the little cherry pie I was working on, and I got the background done in yellow, and I did a double strand. I don't know if you can tell, but it's acrylic, and then I did some mohair in there too, so it's really soft, and these are really big if you can see how big they are on me. So this is going to be like a giant pie scarf. It's going to be huge, but it's going to be really extra, and I'm excited. And then I also finished another one of those squares, and they have clips on them because I still need to like weave in the ends and attach the lattice on the pies. But isn't this such a fun green color? And this one's a berry pie. You can see on the back. Isn't that fun? I think this one turned out really pretty. So those are really cute together, little pies. And then I made a few more centers for the pies. So this is going to be a blueberry pie. Got a couple centers for the blueberry pies. And then I guess this is just one more berry pie. And so these ones I have to do like the pie crust and the whole rest of it, but I started on a few more. So that's as far as I got in the pie scarf project. So I think those are the only two projects I have to update you on at this time. So it's still very much in progress. It's taking me a while to do this scarf because the pattern is quite elaborate and I have to count all my stitches so that the pie turns out right, because I didn't do that when I was working on this first one in the car, and it took me like the whole trip to make this one granny square because I kept working on it and it kept looking wrong. It took me a long time to figure this pattern out, but I feel like I have it on lock now, so I can kind of power through all of these different pies. So I think that's all I have for you for this vlog. This is a long one, but I hope you had fun coming along with me to bookstores, yarn stores, doing reading, crochet, all the things. And if you made it to the end of this vlog, leave me a book stack emoji in the comments and let me know what you've been reading lately, because I would love to know. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!